Hello and welcome to Storylines, the women's cricket podcast with me, Nikki Chaudhuri, and my lovely co-host with her new hair, Melissa Story.
Hello, I can confirm I have not dyed my hair. My hair is the exact same as it was before, but thank you to everyone who has said they like me with brown hair. It's just that I'm sat in a really dark room.
It looks really nice though. I'm not sure if this is like your winter hair color, but it's like a different it's a different version of you. I quite like it.
Thank you, maybe. Am I at the point where I just randomly dye my hair? Like, if you think about it, after the well-publicized breakups earlier this year, I didn't get an extra piercing, I didn't get a tattoo, I didn't dye my hair. I did nothing which you're meant to do after a breakup, so maybe I should dye my
You
hair
just went
brown.
and qualified as a solicitor, and you were like, boom,
Mic
mic
drop.
drop.
Yeah, I feel like I needed to do something a bit more silly. Maybe like jump out a plane.
Oh, we should go skydiving.
Would you skydive with me?
I would happily.
I've always, well, not always wanted to skydive because I used to be scared of heights and then realised
Oh,
that the
I'm
worst thing
terrified
that
of
could
heights.
happen is that you die. And that's maybe not a bad thing.
I'm so ready to skydive though.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's forget dinner on Friday. Let's book skydiving. Or
Maybe we
let's do
don't need
dinner
that
then skydive.
one. London, watch out.
Oh, how have you
Right,
been
should we
though?
talk about Women's World Cup? Oh, what did you
Oh,
say?
wait.
Sorry.
You just say that bit again.
What did you say?
I just said how are you because I didn't know if, but I think we should jump straight into it to make it a good snappy one. So you just do your line again.
Okay. Should we talk about Women's World Cup?
Yes. Where did we leave things? We left things with Australia, Pakistan, so that means we've got South Africa, India to start on.
Yes, that was on the 9th of October. I feel like I'm going flashback right now. So 9th October, India versus South Africa. And well, what an interesting game that one went down to be. South Africa won by 3 wickets with 7 balls to spare. What a phenomenal innings by Nadine de Klerk. Like, honestly, hats off. Like, just amazing. It was so entertaining to watch as well. Well, India scored 251. They were all bowled out. And they really didn't look like they were going to get that far, though, did they, Melissa? They were 102 for 6, having lost some early wickets.
Yeah, basically, before Richa Ghosh came in, the highest score was 37, which was Pratika Rawal at the top of the order. You just had another middle order wobble from India, which is probably going to be quite a big concern for them, but my goodness, Ghosh is in some insane form. Like when she walks in, you just know that, okay, what am I about to see? Some lofted drives over extra cover, which just look so easy. But yeah, her 94 of 77 balls, 11 fours, 4 sixes. I mean, she basically probably saved India to a point where they would have felt quite confident, I think, with a score of 251. And particularly when South Africa, in their innings, they were 142 for 6, they would have been thinking, well, yeah, we've got this game in the bag.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the way she came out and she played such a mature knock as well, like really stabilized everything. Like when you looked at the scorecard 102 for 6 and then to see them out 250 for 251, like huge credit to her. But you know what did surprise me though is how shaky India did look. And I think that's the first time in a while that I was like, oh, hang on, like that was quite poor from them.
I mean, one thing we've seen across this competition is top orders struggling. We spoke about it, and I think it's similar to what happened in the Men's World Cup a few years ago, that with that new ball, it talked a lot and it meant that teams had to be a bit more conservative in their approach. And so I do think those teams who have adapted, or those players who have adapted, have started their innings just that little bit slower. I think Heather Knight's innings against Bangladesh, and she was striking at around 20. You could tell with the likes of Harmanpreet, she was eventually dismissed for 9 off 24 balls. So she was trying, but it just seems really difficult in the first kind of 30 overs of the game almost just to really get going. But then we've just seen so many games where in the final 15 overs, it certainly seems like a tactical thing from teams, but also maybe because it's a reflection of the depth of their batting orders, they're having to be a bit more risk averse, but also just the ball getting softer, which means it doesn't come off the bat as well, but has just been easier across this competition. That's been the trend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And obviously, it's not just happening to one team, it's happening to like a larger bulk of the teams. But let's just talk about South Africa's chase, though. Like the way they chased it down. Laura Wolva, I always struggle to say her surname. Laura Wolvaardt, 70 from 111 balls, and then of course Nadine de Klerk's innings, right, like fully under pressure, 84 from 54. She hit like what, eight fours and five sixes in her innings, and I think it was very encouraging to see also from a South African cricket's point of view as well, and especially if we like once we come to the other games that they've had throughout the last week as well. Really encouraging because South Africa's had such a good year for cricket, and I just hope the way South Africa are playing currently in the Women's World Cup, they get themselves qualified because it would just I think it would mean a lot. But the other thing we're just touching on this game though, I've managed to dig up some stats, right? So the last time India had beaten either one of the so-called Big Four Senna nations at an ICC women's event was in 2020, right? So we're talking a good 5 years ago at an ICC event. They've won bilateral series. That's not an issue. But in terms of an ICC event like a World Cup, in 2022, they lost in New Zealand, England, Australia, and South Africa. They didn't qualify for the semi-finals. In 2023, in the T20 World Cup, they lost to England and then Australia in the semi-final. They didn't play New Zealand and South Africa. They were in a different group. And then 2024 in the T20 World Cup, lost to New Zealand and Australia. They didn't play England and South Africa, and they were eliminated at the group stage. So, as much as I've also bigged them up, and everyone's been bigging them up, and the Indian press has been bigging them up, if stats are anything to go by, is it safe to say that India crumble under pressure?
Well, yeah, based off that, and as you say, because they've got this massive boost of investment, and we've been seeing so many players coming out of the Women's Premier League, and I think because the Indian women's team is being marketed better than a lot of other teams, it gives us this preconception that, oh, of course, they're going to do well in this World Cup. But actually, they have failed to deliver on a number of occasions and have looked weak. And, it summarised that kind of knock from de Klerk coming in at number seven. And there's not many other occasions a player will come in at number seven and be able to play an innings like that, striking over 150 and completely take away the game from India. And probably, turning point that 47th over where Kranti Gaud, she went for 18. But you're right that maybe not enough emphasis is placed on the fact that India are yet to prove themselves under that World Cup pressure. And if there's any time for them to be doing it, it's
It's
now
now.
in a home World Cup. But I must say, it was such a thrilling game, and I was on the train to London watching it on my phone. And when you can tell that someone's looking at your screen, and the guy next to me was like reading his book, and I was like, you want to watch, don't you? Because like I was openly clapping every single time like Nadine de Klerk hit a boundary because I love Nadine de Klerk. I think she's an insanely underrated all-rounder. Played domestic cricket in England these 2 years ago now, and yeah. Wait, did she play this year as well? I'll just say she's played.
Mm.
I really love Nadine de Klerk. She's a vastly underrated all-rounder. She's played domestic cricket in England as well, so got to see her on occasions then. And I kind of just tilted the phone towards him as if to be like, should we watch together? Should we support women's sport
And that's how the
together?
love story started.
Yeah, well, he was like 50, but apart from that, didn't
Sugar
see a
daddy, who?
wedding ring. So yeah, I hope the train guy enjoyed watching. Just a couple other things to note on that game. Chloe Tryon, 3 wickets for 32 runs in her 10 overs. And I always kind of forget how effective Chloe Tryon can be as a bowler. I think because she is just prone to kind of bowling her bad balls the drag down. And because I think when I've seen her play in the 100, I perhaps see her under a bit more pressure of people bringing the attack to her and realizing she's the bowler to target. Maybe I just see her bowl more drag downs, but then I forget when she gets it in that area, the turn and bounce that she is able to generate with her left arm spin is hugely effective. And so, you know, pretty good. Sneh Rana, 2 for 47 for her. Kranti Gaur, another 2 wickets to her, as expected, but a little bit more expensive. But yeah, a big loss for India, definitely, and their first loss in the tournament so far. Should we go on to New Zealand Bangladesh?
Yeah, let's go.
First of all, Bangladesh, love them in this tournament. I love them. Their commitment to just causing drama, stirring the pot, any other word for creating drama. Like it's like you guys, Sultana Jyoti's just come to this competition and been like, I'm serving attitude. We are going to either make teams panic and then when they're not capable of winning the game, as they weren't able to against New Zealand, what are they going to do? Defend the ball for 30 overs and drive New Zealand to the point of insanity. Because New Zealand won by 100 runs, right? So it wasn't a close competition in the end. But my God, it could have been. New Zealand reduced because at one stage Bangladesh reduced New Zealand to 38 for 3. I was busy Googling the records of New Zealand lowest scores. I just had that feeling at the back of my mind like this is going to be one of those days where New Zealand just capitulate. And obviously they didn't because Sophie Devine was batting and played the most un-Sophie Devine-like innings I've ever seen. She literally didn't hit a boundary until I think she was on about 48 or something. And then she hit 2 4s in 1 over, and that was it. Only 2 boundaries in her innings. Nikki, have you ever seen that?
No, especially not from her.
No, and so her partnership with Brooke Halliday was just crucial. A crucial rebuild from two players who completely read the situation and just went, okay, we're going to knock it about then. And in the end, New Zealand did lose wickets towards the end when they started just trying to give it a smack. But at that stage, thanks to Devine and Halliday, they'd probably already got a competitive enough total, and it was. But the conditions were just warm. We saw Sophie Devine, who's got diabetes. She was having to be brought out, handfuls of sweets, and she was just kind of shoving them in her mouth and chugging this like full fat Coke. And it was a really, really tremendous innings from her. And you could kind of tell towards the end where she was like, okay, I'm done. Literally smacked 2 6s and then got bowled, trying to have the almightiest swing in the world. But yeah, it was a really just good cricket watching the rebuild.
Yeah, and you know who hasn't come to light for New Zealand though yet? It's been Susie Bates. Like I think if we've if we've been able to see Susie Bates in her full fine form, which she's struggled to get in this tournament so far, I think the strength power that New Zealand have displayed would be boosted like significantly. And of course, it's difficult to compare, especially to a side like Bangladesh. Obviously, we've discussed it before. They don't have the same amount of cricket. The comparison levels are. It wouldn't be fair to do so. But I did think we would get to see a bit more of Bates, and I think she's so key for New Zealand as well. And it's like, when are we going to see her shine?
Wow. Obviously, she got those 2 ducks in New Zealand's first 2 games, which is the first time I believe she has got consecutive ducks in one day international cricket. But hilariously, she got given out in the first over of the game. So we were like, oh my goodness, that's 3 ducks in a row. This is insane. She reviewed it, it was overturned. And then after that, it was like something clicked, and we were all saying she's going to get 100 here. We just know that she's going to get 100 because she was striking it so well. And then was involved in a run out with
Right.
Mealy Kerr, and you just thought she was on for a big score. But you're right, and she is really key to New Zealand being effective because they can't leave it all to Sophie Devine, no matter how much they want to. She's the leading run scorer in the tournament, scores of 100, 50, and 50 in New Zealand's first 3 games. But if they want to get into that top four, they haven't had the best start to the competition. They have had some tougher games earlier on in the competition, but they need to distribute those scores a bit more, and that was the issue for them in this innings. There was 3 wickets for Rabea Khan, who bowled magnificently, only went for 30 runs off her 10 overs, and for Hema Khatoon as well, just 37 off 9 overs. For Bangladesh, as I kind of not foreshadowed, what did I say?
It was a bit of a
Hinted.
disaster.
Well, It was just really funny, as I say. My favourite part of this innings where Bangladesh, 127 all out, was who's gonna be the top run scorer? Is it gonna be extras or is it gonna be Fahima Khatun? And just by the end, Fahima Khatun scored 34 before she was dismissed. Extras scored 30. Extras looked really solid, really consistent scorer throughout the whole innings, carried the bat, probably might get a WPL deal next year. Um, it was really poor from New Zealand actually in the bowling department. I know that's an insane thing to say when you've bowled a team out for 127, but it made me think of a few things. One, Bangladesh did a great job of frustrating them, their low middle order just blocking. And it got to the point where New Zealand had to bring on Maddie Green to bowl and Brooke Halliday, which just because they were so desperate to kind of keep their fast bowlers and their kind of legs fresh and bits like that because they didn't want to overtire them in the conditions. But none of their bowlers really looked like that penetrable, and it made me think that actually the sides who have done a really good job of clearing up that middle lower order across this competition either have a quick or they have a really good leggy or left arm spinner, and those are the kind of I think bowlers who are taking those wickets when actually at that point lower order batters are going, I'm just going to block the ball. And so whilst it was really entertaining to see if extras was going to top score, New Zealand had a really big chance to like boost their net run rate and instead just couldn't take those final wickets.
Yeah, like Bangladesh really did try to like dig deep and really like it's like when you're playing tug of war and you know you're about to go and your heels are like sinking in and you're like holding on for the mere life of yourself.
How often do you play tug of war? Do you go to a Victorian boarding school?
I went to a boarding school.
There we go. Sorry, I forgot that you probably played tug of war every single lunchtime before your supper was served. And then we went and rode on the ponies.
It was
Did you have
before
horses at
afternoon
your
tea,
school?
actually.
Bit of croquet, lawn tennis.
No comment.
Goodness, me and my comprehensive school could never. Anyway, before I berate you too much, that
Anyway, that was New Zealand's first win of the tournament. And Melissa just bullied me and I've lost my train of thought.
oh, just it's always you bullying me, so I'm allowed to bully you back now. I I always forget that I've got the private school ammo over you.
No
Anyway,
comment.
England, Sri Lanka. England winning by 89 runs against Sri Lanka. They scored 253 for 9 off their 50 overs. Sri Lanka in response 164 all out. England got off to a very shaky start. Both their openers again failing to kick start in the power play. But should we say the line again? Oh, what is it? Nat Sciver-Brunt saved England. She saved England. 117 run a ball, did the amazing baby celebration for baby Theo and Catherine Sciver-Brunt, which was
That's gone
so
everywhere.
cute.
That is viral. She was,
See,
yeah, she was,
my celebration is I'm gonna kind of like rub my tummy and then do the baby, so that people know that I've dedicated it to whatever I had for breakfast that morning, my food baby. Or just I'll find the bar at the ground and point to you and point to my savvy bee and go,
Bevs.
what
But
else
yeah,
could I
she was
act
dropped
out?
early, but when they say that if you get a chance, you got to make it count. Well, she did exactly that, and especially building that partnership in the middle overs, which they needed, like they desperately needed. And she played again a very calm, composed innings, and she accelerated exactly at the right point as well. And then, of course, Charlie Dean's little knock as well helped contribute, and that took England over the 250 mark.
And 3 wickets for Anoka Ranawira for Sri Lanka as well. And she kind of just plugged away in dismissing Heather Knight, really big wicket there. Emma Lamb, as well as Alice Capsey for a 4-ball duck for her. And actually, in response, it was looking really, really shaky for England again because
They started
the
strong, Sri Lanka.
yeah, they were 89 for one. It was looking really competitive. And it was just as I got a notification from the BBC Sport app saying England in desperate need of wickets against Sri Lanka. What happens? Sophie Ecclestone comes in and takes 4 wickets in the shortest space of time ever. She finished with figures of 4 for 17 off her 10 overs. And being able to be held back, I guess. She came on as the sixth bowling change for England, obviously because of matchups and making sure that the ball's moving away from the right-handers, so on, so on. But it does just make you think, why was Eccleston not brought on a bit sooner? I appreciate, you know, probably so much more goes into these things in the changing room than I could ever comprehend, and I'm not trying to suggest that I am more qualified than the England cricket analyst. But sometimes I do think when you have the best player or the best bowler, one of the best bowlers in the world, against Sri Lanka, just bowl her a little bit earlier.
Sorry, I lost you. You kind of froze on my screen.
That's okay, the audio will still be going, but essentially I just said, why wouldn't you bowl the one of the best bowlers in the world earlier?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I had that same question as well, but I guess the analyst knows best, and that was all in their plan. So luckily, it worked out well for them in the end. Um, and that meant England were undefeated after that match against Sri Lanka and pushed them to that game actually pushed them to the top of the points table, which I think for any England women's cricket fan at that point, you probably would have taken a screenshot because after the start
Stop
of
the
the year,
count. Not to be Donald Trump, but stop the count. That's what I was like. I was like, screenshot, 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 because I don't know if we're going to go back up there again. You never know.
okay, hi Donald.
Oh my God, you know what? I actually did look like Donald Trump in a Teams meeting earlier. I took a photo of it because I was on with all these people, and for some reason, despite us all being sat in the same office, I genuinely looked like I'd just been to Essex and back. Like I was bright orange in this lighting. And don't get me wrong, I looked great. But I was just, you already spend most Teams meetings just staring at yourself. Like that's what I do. Like any meeting, I'll just stare at myself. But I
You're
couldn't
crushing
take my
yourself.
eyes off it. I was captivated. Like, the bit where in Love Actually, where she's like, I look quite pretty. That's what I felt like. Anyway, getting very distracted there. India, Australia?
Yeah, let's go on to that one, should we? That was Sunday's game, I think. Yeah,
Yes.
that was Sunday's game. When someone's knocking
Ooh,
on my
let's live podcast whoever's at Nikki's door. Okay, audio description. Nikki has muted herself. She has turned her head. She has said something to whoever knocked at the door, and now she's laughing. That was the shortest audio description of my life.
Okay, going back to that game. Um, so India batted first and posted 330.
Are you using
Sorry, it's
like
my
a...
gua sha. I'm just doing my
You're
finger
gua
like
showering during our podcast?
well, you said you're going to post this on YouTube, so I got to make sure my jaw comes out. Otherwise,
I'm not sure what I can use to make my jawline look better. I've got a stress ball in the shape of a cow. Should I just rub the cow on my face?
I'm so glad this is going on YouTube.
Oh wow, look at all this difference it's making.
Okay, so
How do I look?
you look like Chris Jenner.
Oh Christ. Okay, moving on. Australia, India. India batted first, posted 330 all out within 49 overs, and surprise, surprise, Australia chased it down, which is the record for one day international run chases, successful run chases, World Cup record obviously then as well. They won by 3 wickets with 6 balls to spare, so it was by no means straightforward,
But they never
but
looked shook, you know? They
no,
just looked very comfortable.
which is just remarkable, really, that you're confronted with this record-breaking chase, and it was like the perfect scene, really, for Alyssa Healy to come in and make runs when her team needed it most. But let's start in that first innings because there was a really remarkable partnership between Pratika Rawal and Smriti Mandana where they scored 155 for the first wicket. And at that stage, the pitch was doing nothing. The ball wasn't swinging. The ball wasn't spinning. I was like, this is going to be a high scoring affair. And I'm glad for once I finally read pitch conditions correctly. It wasn't hard, but I know I always get it wrong.
Well, you now don't even need to read the pitch connections because conditions because Google Gemini does it for you at the beginning of the game, which I've noticed, and I'm like, huh?
What
Google Gemini now. Have
is
you not
Google
seen Real?
Gemini like prodding its AI fingers into the pitch and like tapping it? Because that's the only judgment I trust. I have to get my pitch insights from some like ground staff member in a cool tracksuit who like goes, well, because I heard a crow sing this morning, that means that the pitch is gonna start turning, but only within the 27th over. That's what I trust. I don't trust AI in that sense. I trust
But you know,
crows.
it's scary that AI is taking over a pitch report.
There's gonna be no jobs left for us.
We're all gonna be sat at home just making jarred curry.
I knew you were gonna bring up my jarred curry again. I have a portion of it in the freezer and I cannot wait to eat it. And you know what I did yesterday? I used jarred pasta sauce as well because I'm time poor, Nikki. I don't have enough hours in the day to make fresh sauces.
You are a disgrace. Just don't make saucy pasta. Make an aglio olio. Just use some olive oil and some like chili flakes and lemon juice.
You think I can afford olive oil? I just bought a house. I'm having sardines on toast for dinner. 45p sardines on toast, Nikki. Yeah, this is a cry for help from me. Um, Back to the cricket though. Finally, that opening partnership broken with Smriti Mandana getting dismissed by Sophie Molyneux, who had a really expensive start to her game, and then eventually actually pulled things back to finish with 3 wickets. So impressive from her. Still finished going at still going at 7.5 and over, but really crucial wickets of Smriti Mandana, as I say, Harleen Deol and Deepti Sharma as well. In terms of scoring for India, Harleen Deol with 38, Harmanpreet 22. Again, never really got going, and there's still a few question marks around her run of form at the moment because you definitely say she's ascending from a bit of a rut, but still quite not looking comfortable. Jemima Rodriguez with 33, Richa Ghosh with 32, and then the lower order just came in swinging. Your fave, Annabelle Sutherland, 5 wickets. Go on.
You go, girl.
Fantastic critical analysis there. Thank you.
Yeah, 5 wickets for 40, actually, really good figures. But when she came on, she really dried things up. She was extremely consistent, and I think, um, fuck, I've lost my chain. What was I gonna say? I didn't actually
I mean,
see her
she
spell,
went for
you know.
only fours, and essentially what I would say is that because she's got that point of difference that she's tall and she's quick, she actually made she's made things happen on a pitch where no other bowler was really making things happen.
Yeah, so 5 for 40, and I think when she came in, she was so tight as well, and because she's obviously got those few extra inches vertically, so she hits the deck.
What's tickled you with that? Oh no, you just disgust me. Just say she's tall, man. Just say she's tall. She's tall. She hit the deck hard. She made the ball talk on a pitch where the other bowlers
Start
weren't
again.
making it talk. No, we're not starting again. No, I refuse.
And because she hits the deck hard, it became slightly difficult to score at ease, which then caused those wickets to fall because the lower order started to feel that pressure, and then they tried to go for their release shots. But yeah, Annabelle Sutherland, my girl. Going on to Australia's chase though, Alyssa Healy take a bow. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but there's loads of these memes going around on Instagram where they've got basically a picture of like Mitchell Stark and Alyssa Healy together being like the one couple that has India on their toes, and it's like really funny. Yeah, because like Stark with this India England series starting on Sunday, the men's one, and then obviously like Alyssa Healy in the Women's World Cup. But there's this like cute couple picture of them, and it's like the one couple causing Indians sleepless nights.
Well, I'm pretty sure she'd probably cause Harmanpreet Kaur many, many sleepless nights after that innings because 142 off 107 balls. I mean, she just kept Australia ahead in obviously what was a high pressure game. But as we said at the kind of start, you could never really know that even when they were behind the required run rate, there was just no sense of panic because it was almost like they knew they would be able to catch up. And there was contribution from Phoebe Litchfield as well at the top of the order with 40. Elise Perry came in, then had to retire because of, I think it was cramp,
It
and then
was,
came back
yeah.
on and finished 47 not out. So actually, an ideal innings from her.
What
Get
a
a little
way! Like you
start.
start off, you're like, oh, it's getting a bit too much. Go take a break, come back, hit the winning runs, and then oh, glory moment.
I mean, hitting the winning runs of a six down the ground as well, hugely impressive. There was a wobble in the middle where Beth Mooney was dismissed for just four. Annabelle Sutherland can't have it all. She got her 5 wickets, but then was dismissed for a two-ball duck, bowled by Sri Charani. But then Ash Gardner, a really gritty 45 from her, just helped stabilise things. And actually, Sophie Molyneux with a really crucial 18 as well, kept things ticking. And Kim Garth, the batting just doesn't end. And I think, you even had Alana King to come in as well. So I think realistically, and Harmanpreet Kaur said this after the game, that India simply just their collapse at the end of their innings meant that they missed out on an extra even 30, 40, 50 runs, which they should have got with the platform. But for me, that the biggest thing is that India need another bowling option because they had the five frontline options of Amanjot Kaur, of Kranti Gaud, of Sneh Rana, Sri Charani, and Deepti Sharma. Harmanpreet bowled one over, but like you've got
You
two
need that
really young
extra.
seamers heading your seam attack, and then you have those three spinners, but you need another option. And for me, you've got Arundhati Reddy as an option, or you drop a Harleen Diol, which some people have suggested in that, or anyone in that middle order to then bring in a Renuka Singh Thakur, but actually the person who's most out of form is Harmanpreet Kaur herself in that middle order. You wouldn't want to drop Harleen Joel because she's getting gritty runs. You wouldn't want to drop Jamima Rodriguez. You're not dropping Richa Ghosh, particularly keeping option as well. If you look fundamentally at the batting, you're dropping Harmanpreet Kaur. So India are actually, I think, a really big conundrum, and I think that's why on the date of recording they're below those big three of England, Australia, and South Africa. And I think that's probably where they deserve to be because they have probably fumbled some really big platforms which have been set and are still yet to put in a perfect performance, in my opinion.
Yeah, and they've got a big game on Sunday as well against England.
I know. I'm very much looking
It's
forward to it.
actually like I'm not gonna lie, this is a great week, okay, for Indians because you got England women versus India on Sunday. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma come back into action against Australia on Sunday as well, and it's Diwali, so it's basically our Christmas. So it's like, whoop.
I'm very happy for you. My plan on Sunday is watching the game and packing my bags for my holiday to Greece.
You know it's raining in Greece.
Don't say that to me. Why would you say that to me? Why? You know this is the first holiday I've taken for months. You could have just lied to me.
I'm just setting you up so your expectations don't get destroyed. I'm being a true friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll pack
Take
a
an umbrella.
raincoat and an umbrella.
And like,
Fantastic. Right, let's run through these final three games because we've been nattering on. We have got the game between South Africa and Bangladesh, which was another thriller with South Africa coming away with the win on Monday. They won by 3 wickets. But as I said earlier, Bangladesh, I love you. You're causing excitement and drama. You are the thing this World Cup needed. And we've got, Supta scoring 50 off 77 balls, and Shauna Akhter as well, scoring 51 off 35 balls, which I believe is the fastest half century for Bangladesh. Hugely impressive innings from her. 3 sixes in that as well. We've had so many sixes this World Cup. I know that shouldn't come as a surprise, but it still does sometimes because the boundaries, one, have been weird. Like there's been so many grounds where one straight boundary is like 65 meters and the other one is like 45. And I'm like, right, well, we know what end the spinners are bowling from then, don't we? But like I've just been really impressed with the power hitting across this World Cup, and it just gets better and better year by year. And not that, I'm wishing away this World Cup, but I really can't wait for the T20 World Cup in England and Wales next year because I feel like there's just going to be like so many sixes. And I love sixes. I love waving my little six card. Not that I
Oh yeah.
commentate with a six card, but
Yeah, I was gonna
maybe I
say, do you
should.
have that in the commentary box with you? Like,
No, I just do like the Billy Bowden six signal every single time. But 2 wickets for Nonkululeko Mlaba, um, 2 for 42 off her 10 to be exact. Not much else from the South African. A wicket apiece for de Klerk and Chloe Tryon. The two other wickets coming from run-outs for Bangladesh as they finished 232 for 6 off their 50 overs. And the top run scorers, Chloe Tryon, she was 62 in the end, run out right towards the end, which was again a pretty pivotal moment. But don't worry, because if Nadine de Klerk's on your side, she'll just score the winning runs. She's like
you
the South
bossed it
African
right
Emily
at the end.
Windsor. Literally, 37 not out of 29 balls. Like, what a valuable player to have in terms of team balance. It's just, pretty remarkable. But I must say, Tamsin Brits has had such a weird competition as well, because scoring that 100 and then a couple ducks as well, she's really giving that true reality of an opening batter where it's like, well, some days you get 100 and other days you get out for a golden
Yeah.
duck.
The other thing I want to touch on though, in that game, there were some opportunities towards the back end of the innings that catches could have been taken, and it just, I think there was two. Now, if like
One
towards,
was dropped by a substitute.
yeah, one was down at deep mid wicket, and then one was down at long off. Right, both catches. The fielder did not have to even like move a step. It was straight down their throat, and I think in those pressure situations, the one at deep mid wicket, I can't remember who it was. That was a really important. That could have changed the game completely, and it just goes to show that because like we've discussed, the pure volume and having more experience in those under the pump situations, they Bangladesh did look, not everyone, but a little bit dazed at some points when it started to get a bit difficult and it was getting tighter.
And that's what will happen for these teams who are not getting enough games. I mean, Bangladesh, their preparation for the World Cup was playing against their under 15 boys team because they couldn't get any other matches in place. So, I do think that is the thing with this longer format, as it does expose the weaker teams because to keep your concentration for 50 overs is really, really tough. But yeah, you're right. And it's a shame for Bangladesh in the sense that that game against England could have gone an entirely different way if certain decisions had gone their way. And there's just a few of those kind of clinch moments which they're not quite being able to hang on to. But it fills me with a lot of hope because this is a Bangladesh team with a lot of young players and really a generation of players who have emerged from that under 19 World Cup a few years ago and are hugely impressive. And, there are a lot of experienced campaigners in there as well. But I think Bangladesh are a side who are going to continue to entertain us over these next few years and hopefully forevermore because there's a lot of talent in that lineup. And as I said, I've really been enjoying watching them this World Cup. Okay, two washouts to finish with. We'll run through them very quickly. First of all, Sri Lanka, New Zealand. Sri Lanka only had their innings 258 for 6 off their 50 overs. I mentioned for Nalakshi de Silva scoring 55 none out of 28 balls. Absolutely whacked it to every corner of the ground. It was so fun to watch. 50 also for Chamari Atapatu, but a bit more reserved off 72 balls for New Zealand. 3 wickets for Sophie Devine because, when she's not given the chance to score a 50, she simply has to contribute some way. So she has to pick up 3 wickets. Like, that's the rule. But in the end, the conditions getting the better in that game for Sri Lanka and New Zealand. And then similarly again today, my goodness, were England saved by the weather.
Honestly,
133
they
for
couldn't.
9 off 31 overs, and Pakistan were 34 without loss in their chase. Like, England were well and truly saved from a giant, giant upset.
Yeah, like they would have been praying to all the gods that that rain did not leave Colombo Stadium. Colombo Stadium today because I was following the scorecard and I was like, huh? 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 What is going on? Like, top score was 33 from Charlie Dean.
Well, Charlie Dean is now England's third highest run scorer in this competition. So she's 31st highest run scorer with 79 runs. And I know England's batting stats are a bit disfigured because they had that really low scoring game against South Africa to kickstart their campaign where they only needed to chase down 70. But you've got Nat Sciver-Brunt and Heather Knight, who Sciver-Brunt scored 153 runs, and obviously a large portion of those was her 100. Heather Knight scored 126. But then, yeah, the next highest scorer, Dean, with 79. I do think, we laugh, but there are concerns for England in the batting department. And yet again, they're being shown up by spin and will really struggle, I think, in the knockout stages if these issues kind of continue. And fortunately, from an England point of view, they can brush this off, obviously learn from it, but go, okay, we were saved there from probably or potentially a bit of an embarrassing result. But nonetheless, probably a bit of reflection needed on just how they're going to play spin, and particularly in those middle overs. Like, how do you maintain that intent, but then just not lose your head?
And maintain that run rate as well.
Fatima Sana as well, just to mention, bowled an insanely good spell. She finished with figures of 4 for 27, was hooping the ball in. And I just forget how young she is every single time. She is just so accomplished and is still 23 years old, I think. And just remarkable from her. It could have been something special for Pakistan, but alas, the weather in Sri Lanka had other ideas. Nikki, that was our weekly roundup. Done.
That
Tick.
was our weekly roundup, and just looking at the points table as it stands right now. So England top of the table right now, played 4-1-3. Australia's in at second, again played 4-1-3. South Africa in at third, played 4-1-3, lost one. And India in at number 4. Remember, all 4 teams qualify for the next stage of the ICC Women's World Cup. So New Zealand in at 5. And I think India have to watch their back a little bit because they've got a big game coming up on Sunday against England. And, well, we're now getting into the part where it gets really, really interesting now, right? Pakistan bottom of the table. I feel a bit sorry for them. They've lost 3 of their 4 games and then they were washed out in today's match. But, yeah, I did not expect England to be topping that table. I thought I would be seeing Australia, India, then South Africa or New Zealand. That's what I initially thought. That's how I'd be seeing the table. But if this is, they've really have thrown a bit of a spanner in the works, which I'm all here for because who doesn't like a bit of cricket without drama?
True. I mean, they are on equal points, and the only thing separating them is net run rate. But I get what you mean. It's very surprising to see, and we will lock in for the remainder of this competition. Nikki, I'm seeing you on Friday night when we have dinner slash skydive, so I will see you then. And thank
But
you
wait,
so
wait, wait!
much.
I've got something exciting for you on Friday because I don't know when I'm going to be seeing you next, and it will probably be in 2026. So I've actually got your Christmas present, right? And I know it's a bit early for Christmas, but because I'm just thinking ahead, but I've got something really exciting, and I wanted to see if any of our listeners could guess, based on our last couple of episodes, what I've got for you, and then we'll do a whole review.
Okay, so leave a comment. I'm quite scared. If Have you got me a new office chair after I broke my one in the last episode? Because that would be ideal, but quite hard to carry on the tube.
Yeah, I don't think I could carry it into Broadcasting House before I meet you anyway, because I'm doing the game. So like, I can tell you
I look
now it's not
forward
a
to it.
chair.
Okay, well, I look forward to it. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and we will speak to you soon. Bye.
Adios.
Whoa, different this time.